by email. Okay, over to you.
I don't like microphones. President George, guests, fellow Rotarians, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Many thanks for allowing Bill and myself to join you today. I would have brought greetings from my club, but as my driver is the president, I don't have to do that. He's already done it. Thank you very much, Bill. Now I had got a note because Jeff very kindly sent an email about Jerry's condition, and I had got a note to say give him my good wishes, but I've already done that because he turned up having had an accident very close to where I used to live when I was a young lad. Well, I'm very glad to see you here, and
likewise.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Was it your fault?
Just shows the dangers of bicycles.
Keep off the road.
Yeah. Now, when I'm preparing for visits to clubs, I look up the Rotary International website to find out if the members are actually still members. I look at the report from the Assistant Governor that tells me what he or she thinks of you. And then I look up your website. Now, I really got quite upset by this. Because I found on your website this remarkable publication, which I now find printed over there, but I thought I'd better read this. There's probably 2 or 3 pages of information about the club. When I got to page 65, I realised I didn't have to read it in fine detail, and I'll forget the minor error with my name. But it's actually quite a publication. I really was impressed with it. There's an awful lot of information in there. Obviously somebody's taking down almost every word speakers say, so, but it's a fantastic amount of work, and I think that's really good.
And we're recording you.
It may not be worthwhile, don't worry. But anyway, the DG's visit is traditionally a time when he or she tells you a little about what the current Rotary International President has said and what his theme is for the year. I'm sure that by now you've heard that the name of the President for this year of Rotary International is a gentleman called Kalyan Banerjee, and you may well have received a copy of Rotary Today this month with a picture of Kalyan and his wife Binota on the front, and very kindly he's put a summary of why he chose a theme and what his theme means to him, which means that I have no longer got to give my full 25-minute speech explaining the theme. But having read Kalyan's summary in Rotary Today, I congratulate him for getting the words just about the way I'd got them in the first place before I'd read his summary. But his theme for the year is reach within to embrace humanity. Now it's a theme that obviously, as soon as you hear it, you think, what a fantastic theme. What does it mean? Well, Kalyan says what he wants every Rotarian to do is to look at themselves and from within themselves think about what they themselves need, what they themselves have aspirations for, what they themselves have dreams of. Because once you've done that, you realise that the people around you have probably got, or almost certainly got, the same needs of food, shelter and water. They may not have the same aspirations, they may not have the same dreams, but everybody in the world does have aspirations and does have dreams of some sort. And once you realise that, you can actually think about how you can help other people in your community, in your nation, around the world, which is what Rotary is all about. And Kalyan has placed 3 emphases to Rotarians. One emphasis is the family. That's your family. That's your Rotary family, which includes Inner Wheel, Interact, Rotaract, everybody connected with Rotary. And then if you place it wide enough, it's humanity, the family of the human race. And if we all treat our families properly, that means we treat the whole human race properly. And if everybody did that, I suspect we wouldn't be in the sort of situation we are now around the world with wars and conflict. Rotary cannot cure all these things. What Rotary can do is endeavour to cure it and set an example. The next emphasis Kellyanne was suggesting was continuity. Now, Rotary does many things, many projects, and in general it does those projects really well. What Kellyanne is suggesting is all those ones you do well and are worthwhile, do them, continue doing them, but perhaps just a little bit better than you did them last year. And then perversely Kellyanne saying the other emphasis is change. Now, he's not saying change, don't have meals and meet in the evening. He's saying you've got to be aware of change. The world is changing constantly. I think somebody in another club said to me, the only constant thing is change. I think my son tells my grandson, who's now 14, 15, that I was a very cruel father, because I would not let my son have, when he was 8 years old, a mobile phone or a personal computer. The fact that they weren't invented then has passed him by. But just in technology, things are changing to an extent where I have no idea how to work my mobile phone, except I cannot answer calls, which is a strange thing to be able to do on them nowadays. But my son got my emails coming through to it, my grandson showed me how to do other bits of it, and I just about cope. But everything else in the world is changing all the time. I mean, when I bought my first car, I could quite easily take the plugs out and adjust the points, and I could change the oil. Nowadays, you have to put a plug in and a computer readout comes out to tell you what to do. And you can't do that at home anymore, not that I attempt it and get your hands dirty, it's nasty. But you've got to be aware of change, and Rotary has to change with the world. But that doesn't mean change everything you do. Most clubs work brilliantly. You do an awful lot, carry on doing it. Why change? But you've just got to be aware that changes do occur. Now, I actually believe that already with what Rotary does around the world, we do embrace humanity. We look after people in our local communities. We look after people in the third world. We try and provide water and food. As you mentioned, Mary's Meals. I went to a club last week, and I was asked before I went, would I mind if they did the meal differently by the president. What they hadn't done was told any of their members that they were going to do away with the cooked meal and just give them a ploughman's supper with a bit of French bread and some meat, which I think cost £3.47 or something, and the balance of the £14 they normally paid went to Mary's Meals. And it was a surprise to every one of the members, except me, but I thought that was a really great idea. The fact that you voted some more money to Mary's Meals is really good. Now, we do all these things, and the only way we do it is because we have people. In Rotary terms, people means members. And what we do is we raise money, and we get money to other places in the world, and we know that if we send it to a Rotary club at the far side of the world, the money will reach the people that need it. There is no money disappearing into somebody else's back pocket on the way, which you hear about in so many other so-called charitable organisations. Rotary is trusted. Now you raise money, and you've already mentioned your Christmas collections, and I had actually got a note to ask how the renovations were going on the 2 sleighs, and it sounds as though you've got that worked out. You've got a sponsored walk shortly. And then you do an exceptional number of things with the money you raise. You do blood pressure days, kids out, old folks Christmas party. So I qualify for that now. I'm an old folk, so that'll be good. It's funny. I used to know a lady at our church in Rayleigh that she used to go into the old people's day centre and do the teas for the old people, and she was 81, and she didn't give up. But you help the Jaipur Limbs project, shelter boxes you're considering, and so many other things. And then I get the email last week from Jim about the Tesco unused glasses scheme, which I'm following up. I've given it to Bob Barclay because he's on one of the RIBI central committees dealing with international things. We don't really want to rush into something that somebody else is thinking about already. I know Jim says he's looked and he can't find it anywhere, but I think before we push on, we'll double check. But I still think it sounded really good idea. I mean, there are so many pairs of glasses, I suspect, sitting around everybody's houses, just going to waste. So it must be a good idea. You liaise with the other clubs in the area, which is really good. Some clubs sit all by themselves and forget about the other Rotary clubs, or forget there are other Rotarians in other clubs. But I think it's very good that you liaise with them and work with them. You work with the youth, and you're hoping to get an Interact club sorted out. Again, that's really good, because if you can get people interested in aspects of Rotary when they're young, they may well join Interact and later on Rotary. Now, as I've said, you do all these things because we've got people. Now, people means members, and Norman was saying to me earlier that your membership dropped off slightly over the last year, and you're hoping to get some more to replace them. But the other thing about membership is retaining the members you have got. Well, as far as I can see, your members have stayed reasonably static over the last little while. But to retain members, you have to, what one of the speakers when I was doing my training said is, give your members value for money. Now when I say value for money, that's not value for the meal you get each week. It's value for money in terms of, if you convert the money into time, Rotarians put a lot of time into Rotary. They attend weekly meetings. They turn up for projects. Well, unless you make the weekly meetings interesting by having interesting speakers, and I know that you do have interesting speakers because I've looked at the list. Unfortunately, today you haven't got one, but next week or week after, I'm sure you will have. But also your projects, they've got to be interesting and excite may not be the right word, but give interest to people who want to get involved in the projects. Because if they want to get involved, they will, and the projects will be more successful. If your projects are boring and they don't think, they're not very interested in what happens, they'll drift away and won't help you. So giving value for money is making sure you keep your Rotarians interested and they'll carry on turning up. Now I've looked at your website, as I mentioned earlier, with finding your bulletin, and unlike some websites in this district, it's up to date. It tells you what the meetings are. There's lots of photographs of what you do. So anybody going in will think, these people actually do something. Now, websites are a great source of publicity if you can get people to look at them and grip them when they open the website. Because how else do you get Rotary known? It's not easy publicising yourself. You go out with your tabards and you're at the town show. They all know you yesterday or the weekend? Will they know you next Friday? And so on. It's just another way of advertising what Rotary does. Now, I think there are websites in the district, as I said before, they're not very good. In fact, some of them advertise the meetings they held in 2009, and I'm not joking. And some pages you open, there's nothing on them at all. On the other hand, there are other websites which don't use the Rotary template, some of them, as you do, and they're actually very good. And I think now and again, flick into another club's website and think, well, that's a good idea, we could try that, or I'm glad we don't do it as badly as that. You just look around, there's no one way of doing things a best way. There's all sorts of different ideas of doing things. Because I have seen some good ones, and as I say, I've seen some really bad ones. Next thing I'd like to talk about is a mysterious organisation to Rotarians, actually not to this club, but a mysterious organisation to many Rotarians. It's called District. It sort of sits over there, it's nothing to do with the ordinary clubs. Well, it isn't anything to do with the ordinary clubs, except that when Rotary was formed, there were Rotarians, most important, then there were clubs. When there got to be a reasonable number of clubs, it was decided that to control, not control, but to administer them, they needed to split the clubs into districts. So purely for administrative reasons, they split them into districts. There's now 532 districts across the world, each with its own district governor, each with its own district team of people. Now, the people at district level within District 1240 are just people, just like you, but they just give up a little bit more of their time to work for Rotary. Norman's been an assistant governor, so he knows a little bit about the work that's involved in that. It meant he had to go and visit other Rotary clubs. I'm sure he did anyway, but it's interesting to go to other Rotary clubs, and I'm sure you know, because I know you get involved with other clubs. But we also have people who've gained expertise in youth matters, in international matters and so on. And those people who are chairmen of the committees are actually a resource to you. If you want to know something, ask the chairman of the committee that you're thinking about. Because they've got a lot of knowledge, and they've got a committee of people who also got knowledge. So they are there as a resource. The assistant governors aren't there to come round to your clubs and tell you how to do it. They're there to come round, see how you're getting on, and answer any questions you've got. They're not, the district governor is not there to tell you how to run your Rotary clubs, unless you're doing something illegal. But most Rotary clubs do their own thing, they do it perfectly, they get on and they get involved with the community. But district is there to help. But district meetings, they make decisions about Rotary in 1240. If you want to speak, argue, comment, ask a question, go to a district meeting and you can find out what's going on. Your club also has votes. Probably in your club 3 votes, is that correct? So you get 3 votes at a district meeting. You get the chance to make your point known. At RIBI conferences, they make decisions about you and the way Rotary is run in Britain and your subscriptions. Again, if you go to a conference, you can speak. Some of the business sessions, parts of the business sessions are really exciting. I think they told me. I have to say, this year there was somebody from one district, I forget which one it was, who put forward on behalf of his district, I think it was 3, possibly 4 resolutions, all of which failed miserably by vast majorities to about 2. I don't really know why they put them forward, because they didn't seem very practical. But RIBI conferences are places where not only do you meet Rotarians and hear very interesting speakers, you can make decisions about Rotary. Now, the other thing that no meeting would be without when the district governor comes, he's talking about foundation. Now your club, as far as I can see last year, gave very generously to foundation, not just the main foundation but also to Polio Plus, if I read it correctly. So very well done and thank you very much. You obviously know what foundation's for. You know when you give your money, in 3 years' time you can have half of it back and make application to spend it in the way you'd like it spent. The Gates Challenge, which I'm sure you know about, where Bill Gates challenged us to raise $200 million within 3 years for Polio Plus. Well, we've reached to 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago $182 million. We're in the third year of the challenge, but it does appear that we will get there. Now, you were involved in planting crocus bulbs, I think, with using local school children. I hope they all came up. Yeah, some clubs said they were a bit iffy. The tomato sauce. Now, having had a speaker from Wilkins, you must have got involved in that. Don't forget the tomato sauce, if you donated your bottle of sauce, and you intend to bring it back with a small change in after you wash the bottle out, don't forget that any gift you give for those can be gift aided. I'm sure your treasurer will be delighted to keep all the details before he sends it off to RIBI. But gift aiding will add, I don't know what it is now, with the tax dropping, 23, 24%? 25% more than you give. So that can be done. And also the other thing to remember with the foundation is there's a district simplified grant which you can apply for projects in this country, as long as there is within the project you're doing some Rotarian involvement. So if you've got a Rotarian who's working for a charity, it may be possible to get a grant for that charity. But details from the district foundation chairman. That's a very broad description of it. Now, can I just quote from something which I was given at another event, at another club, where the public were present. And it was headed, and I have seen this on one or two websites, but I didn't see it on yours, so I apologise if I missed it. It says, "What is Rotary?" And it said, "Rotary members are enthusiastic, fun-loving and active volunteers who give their time and their talents to serve communities both at home and abroad. These are dedicated people, both men and women, from business and professions who share a common interest in helping others." I hope that you recognise in that description the Rotary Club of Hornchurch and Upminster. And I wish all the members a successful year. And finally, may I present President George with a small banner as a reminder to you all to reach within and embrace humanity. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Neil, for your banner, and thank you for visiting us and spending some of your valuable time to explain what is going on. Can I wish you all the success and a happy year as District Governor, and I hope that your district conference goes as well as you wanted it to. So, how about a round of applause for District Governor. Before I bring things to a conclusion, do we have any other business that the members would like to raise? No. Can I say thank you to all our guests today. It's been lovely having you here. Sorry, it's a business meeting, and I hope you've had a good time, and it's been a pleasure to see you. If I could remind you about the apologies book on the website. The menu we know, but it will be on the website if you forget. And if you'd like to be upstanding, please, for the final toast, with Rotary and peace the world over. Have a safe journey home. Thank you.